At my son's baby shower, his girlfriend's ex suddenly walked in and said, "Congratulations." "But that baby's mine." The room fell silent. My son looked at his girlfriend, who couldn't even look him in the eyes. I never thought I'd be sharing this, but here I am. My son Daniel had been with his girlfriend, Sophia, for about 2 years. When they announced they were expecting, we were all thrilled. We decided to throw a baby shower at our family home in San Diego. The day of the shower arrived. Our house was filled with friends and family. Decorations were up, food was laid out, and there was a buzz of excitement. Gifts piled up in the corner, and laughter echoed through the rooms. In the middle of the celebration, the doorbell rang. Expecting another guest, I went to open it. Standing there was a young man I didn't recognize. He looked nervous but determined. He stepped into the room, eyes scanning until they landed on Sophia. Then, loud enough for everyone to hear, he said, "Congratulations, but that baby's mine." The room went silent. All eyes turned to Sophia. Daniel, standing beside her, looked confused. "Sophia? What's he talking about?" he asked. Sophia's face turned pale. She looked down, unable to meet Daniel's gaze. Daniel pressed on, his voice rising. "Sophia, answer me. Who is this guy?" The young man introduced himself. "I'm Ethan. Sophia and I were together before she met you. We were still seeing each other when she got pregnant." Gasps filled the room. Daniel took a step back, as if he'd been struck. "Is this true?" he demanded. Tears streamed down Sophia's face as she nodded. "I'm so sorry, Daniel. I didn't know how to tell you." The weight of her confession hung in the air. Daniel's mother, trying to salvage the situation, suggested, "Maybe we should give them some space to talk." Guests began to leave, murmuring among themselves. Once the room was nearly empty, Daniel turned to Sophia. "How long were you going to keep this from me?" he asked, voice trembling. "I was scared," Sophia admitted. "I didn't want to lose you." Ethan interjected, "I only found out recently. I want to be involved in my child's life." Daniel ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident. "I need time to think," he said before walking out. Over the next few days, emotions ran high. Daniel felt betrayed. Sophia was racked with guilt. Ethan was determined to be a father. Eventually, a paternity test confirmed Ethan was the biological father. Daniel, heartbroken, ended his relationship with Sophia. "I can't build a life on lies," he told her. Sophia and Ethan began co-parenting. Daniel focused on healing, leaning on family and friends for support. Life took an unexpected turn that day. Trust was broken, relationships ended, but everyone involved learned the importance of honesty and facing the consequences of their actions. After the paternity test came back and confirmed Ethan was the father, things didn't just settle down. In fact, they got worse. Much worse. Daniel moved back into my house for a while. He was quiet, angry, and hurt. He barely spoke for days. I gave him space, but one night I found him sitting alone in the backyard, just staring into the dark. He finally said, "I really thought she was the one, Mom. I bought a ring." I didn't know what to say. My heart broke for him. But the real twist didn't come until about 3 weeks later. Sophia reached out. She asked to meet Daniel in person. He agreed. I went with him because he didn't want to go alone. They met at a coffee shop in Hillcrest. I waited outside, but I could see them through the window. It looked like a calm conversation at first. But then Daniel stood up, slammed his coffee on the table, and stormed out. Sophia followed him, yelling, "You can't just walk away from me." When he got in the car, he didn't say a word until we were halfway home. Then he said, "She lied again. She said Ethan might not even be the only other guy." I was shocked. "What do you mean?" "She said she was seeing someone else too, around the same time," he said. "Some guy she worked with. A manager." That changed everything. This wasn't just a mistake. This was a pattern of lies. Daniel was devastated all over again. He told me he felt like his whole relationship had been fake. The next day, Sophia showed up at our house. I didn't want to let her in, but Daniel said it was okay. They talked in the front yard. She was crying, saying she didn't know what was wrong with her, that she panicked, that she didn't want to lose him and made stupid choices. Daniel just listened, arms crossed, face blank. Then she said something that made everything worse. She said Ethan had started staying over at her place to help with the pregnancy, and that they'd started sleeping together again. Daniel didn't even respond. He just turned around and walked into the house. That night, he called Ethan. He told him everything. Ethan was furious. Apparently, he had no idea Sophia was still seeing someone else while also sleeping with him. He showed up at her apartment, and things got loud. She called the cops. There was shouting, some neighbors got involved, and eventually, Ethan was told to leave. From that point, everything got messy. Sophia blocked Daniel. Ethan texted him that he wanted full custody. Daniel, even though he wasn't the father, was suddenly involved again because Sophia listed him on the original hospital forms as the emergency contact. She hadn't even changed it yet. Then, something else happened. Daniel started getting messages from another guy, a guy named Chris. He said he had dated Sophia for a few months before Daniel and Ethan. He said she had told him she couldn't get pregnant. He said he had ended things because she kept lying about little things, and when he saw the baby shower photos online, he recognized her. Chris sent Daniel screenshots of texts, pictures, even a voicemail. One of them was Sophia talking about how she didn't want a baby and how if she ever did have one, she'd make sure the guy was rich enough to take care of it. Daniel was done after that. But he wasn't just angry now, he was scared. Scared that Sophia was manipulating everyone and using the baby as a pawn. He called a lawyer. He wanted to make sure he was legally cleared of everything, especially with his name on those hospital forms. Meanwhile, Sophia started posting cryptic stuff on social media, quotes about betrayal, fake friends, and being misunderstood. People started taking sides. Some of her friends messaged Daniel saying he had abandoned her. Others messaged me, saying they were sorry and that Sophia had always been kind of wild, and nobody really thought it would last. Then one night, Daniel came into the kitchen with his phone. "Mom, look at this," he said. It was a picture Sophia posted on Instagram. A picture of the baby's sonogram, but this time, there was a man's hand in the photo, holding hers. And it wasn't Daniel's hand. It wasn't Ethan's either. The caption read, "Our little miracle. Can't wait to meet you." We didn't know who the guy was. Another boyfriend? The manager from work? Someone new? Daniel didn't say anything after that. He just walked outside again, like he had that first night. It felt like we were living in a story that wouldn't end. And just when I thought things couldn't get any more twisted, Sophia called me crying. She said she didn't know who the father was anymore. She said she needed help. She asked if she could come over. I haven't answered yet. There's more. So much more. But this is where I'll leave it for now. I need to gather my thoughts. Should I let her come over? Should I stay out of it? Or is it too late for any of that? I didn't answer Sophia's call that night. I let it go to voicemail. A part of me felt bad. She was young, pregnant, clearly in a mess. But another part of me, the louder part, just couldn't ignore what she'd already done to Daniel. I listened to the voicemail later. She was sobbing. She said she was scared. That Ethan had stopped answering her. That the new guy in the sonogram photo, the one holding her hand, he had left too. She didn't even mention his name. She ended the message with, "I don't know what to do. I feel like everyone hates me. I don't want to do this alone." I didn't tell Daniel about the message right away. He was starting to get better. He'd gone back to work, started hitting the gym again, even reconnected with some old friends. He hadn't brought up Sophia in over a week, and I didn't want to drag him back into the chaos. But then something else happened. One morning, Daniel got an official-looking envelope in the mail. At first, he thought it was from the lawyer's office. But it wasn't. It was a subpoena. Sophia had put Daniel down on the hospital's forms when she first found out she was pregnant. Even though the paternity test cleared him, she had never corrected the records. Now, the state was trying to figure out child support because she had applied for public assistance, and Daniel's name was the one they had on file. He was furious. His lawyer handled it, of course. They filed the paternity results with the court, and the case was dismissed in a few weeks. But it shook Daniel. He realized that even though he wasn't the father, he could still get pulled into the mess just because his name had been tied to hers. Then I made a mistake. I called Sophia back. I told her I got her message. I told her I didn't hate her, but she needed to fix things. Legally. Emotionally. I told her she needed to stop dragging my son into this. And then she said something that made my stomach drop. "I can't fix everything. I'm not even sure I want Ethan involved anymore. He's been acting crazy since he found out I was with someone else again. He said if I ever keep him from the baby, he'll make me pay." That night, Sophia filed a restraining order against Ethan. When Daniel found out, he didn't say much, just stared out the window and said, "She's playing the same game all over again." Ethan, on the other hand, was losing it. He started sending angry messages to Daniel, accusing him of protecting Sophia, claiming she was lying to everyone. At one point, he even showed up at our house uninvited. I answered the door. He looked exhausted, unshaven, eyes red. I told him he needed to leave. He didn't argue, just stood there and said, "She's going to ruin all of us." The next morning, Sophia posted a photo on Facebook. It was her at a baby store, holding a blue onesie. The caption? "Baby shower, take 2 blue heart." Daniel blocked her after that. But then, something even weirder happened. One of Daniel's friends, Marcus, called him out of the blue. Marcus had been at the original baby shower. He said he had something Daniel needed to know. Apparently, Sophia had told someone at her job that the baby was Daniel's. That the whole "Ethan is the father's" story was something she made up to cover up another affair she had. The coworker overheard Sophia talking to the new mystery guy, the one from the sonogram photo, saying that Daniel's too good of a man to cut off. He'll come back around once he sees the baby. Daniel was stunned. "Is it even Ethan's kid then?" he asked out loud, more to himself than to me. Now there are 3 possibilities. Ethan, the manager, or somehow Daniel. Another test might be needed. But who even knows if Sophia's telling the truth anymore? She'd burned every bridge. Nobody trusts her. Then I found out the most bizarre part yet. I ran into a neighbor who knows Sophia's mom. We talked for a bit, and I gently asked if she'd heard anything about Sophia. She nodded and said her mom kicked her out. Said she caught her messaging some guy asking for money in exchange for pretending he was the dad. Said it was for legal help or something. I didn't even know how to respond. This whole situation has spun completely out of control. Daniel doesn't want anything to do with her, but somehow she keeps pulling him back in with new lies, new men, new drama. And that baby. I worry about that baby more than anything. Because no matter who the father is, that child is coming into a storm. And now, for some reason, Sophia started texting me. Not Daniel. Me. Please just meet with me. I can explain everything, she wrote this morning. I haven't replied. But I'm thinking about it. Because if there's one thing I know for sure, this story isn't over yet. I finally agreed to meet Sophia. I chose a small park in La Mesa, somewhere neutral and public. I didn't tell Daniel. I didn't want to get his hopes up or stir his emotions unless I had something real to say. When I got there, she was already sitting on a bench, hunched over, arms wrapped around herself. She looked thinner, worn down, like someone who hadn't slept in weeks. Her face lit up a little when she saw me, but it quickly faded when I didn't smile back. She started talking before I even sat down. I know I've messed everything up. I've hurt Daniel. I've confused Ethan. And now I'm going to be a mom in the middle of all this. I didn't say anything. I waited. And then she dropped it. I lied about the paternity test, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I blinked. What? I switched the envelopes. The real results, they showed Daniel as the father. But I panicked. I didn't want him to feel trapped, and I was scared he'd leave if he knew the truth. So I gave him a fake one I printed from a template online. I just stared at her. She kept going. Then when Ethan got involved, I let him believe it was his. I didn't think it would go this far. And the new guy, he's not the dad either. I used him to try and make Ethan jealous. I was scared and stupid, and I didn't know what I was doing. I stood up. Do you have the real test? She reached into her bag and handed me an envelope. This one was official, sealed, dated. It showed Daniel was the father, not Ethan. I didn't know whether to scream or cry. I haven't told him, she said. I want you to tell him first. I want him to hear it from someone who cares about him. I left. I didn't look back. That night, I handed the envelope to Daniel. He opened it at the kitchen table. I watched his face change from confusion to disbelief to rage. She lied to me. She let me walk away from my own child, he said, trembling. I told him everything. The fake test, the lies, the manipulation. Daniel didn't say much after that. He went to his room and closed the door. The next day, he showed up at Sophia's apartment. I went with him. Ethan was already there. Apparently, Sophia had asked him to come too. I think she wanted everything out in the open. Daniel walked in holding the envelope. He threw it on the table. You tell him, or I will. Sophia looked at Ethan. Her voice cracked. The baby isn't yours. Ethan blinked. What? I lied, she said. It's Daniel's. Ethan stood there, stunned. Then he laughed, a bitter, broken sound. You let me fight for something that wasn't even mine. Daniel stepped in. I'm the father. And from now on, I'm handling this through the court. I don't trust anything you say. Sophia started crying. I'm sorry. I didn't know how to fix it. Daniel looked at her, dead in the eyes. You don't get to fix this. You broke it. Ethan walked out, slamming the door so hard a picture frame fell off the wall. Daniel turned to me. Let's go. We left Sophia crying on the floor. In the days after, Daniel hired a lawyer to get custody established officially. He didn't want to keep the baby from Sophia, but he didn't want her lies affecting his relationship with his child. Word spread quickly. Friends, family, even coworkers heard bits and pieces. Some judged Sophia. Others pitted her. A few people blamed Daniel for not seeing the red flags. One of his cousins said, Man, you dodged a bullet by not marrying her. Daniel didn't respond. He just said, That's still my kid. So I didn't dodge anything. The emotional fallout was heavy. Ethan cut contact completely. Daniel struggled with resentment. He wanted to be excited about the baby, but all he could feel was pain. Sophia tried to call and text, but Daniel ignored her. The only communication went through the lawyer now. Then, a few weeks before the baby was born, Sophia's mom reached out to me. She apologized. She said her daughter had problems she never wanted to admit. That she was trying to get help, going to therapy, maybe even rehab. When the baby was born, Daniel wasn't in the delivery room, but he was at the hospital. He held his son for the first time. He cried. I asked him how he felt. He said, terrified. But I'm going to love him. No matter what. We're still dealing with the legal stuff. Sophia's visitation is being worked out. Daniel is taking parenting classes, setting up a nursery in his apartment. He's quiet most days, but stronger, more focused. As for me, I've learned a lot. I've learned that love can blind people, that lies multiply fast, and that sometimes, even when you do everything right, you end up in a mess. But I've also learned that strength isn't just walking away, it's staying for the things that matter. And that baby matters. This chapter is messy, painful, and unfinished. But we're moving forward. Daniel is the father. He is now preparing to raise his child with full legal rights and primary custody. Sophia is seeking help but remains mostly estranged. Ethan is gone. The truth destroyed trust, but it gave Daniel clarity and a reason to fight for something real. The future is uncertain, but for the first time in months, it feels honest.